Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a totally fascinating piece of philosophical literature. We are going to objectively break down philosophers Xu Feng's intriguing arguments regarding the existence, the evidence, and the highly specific characteristics of what he calls the greatest creator. Now, whether you're coming to this from a philosophical, secular, or religious background, this framework presents a really logical, precise perspective that totally challenges how we view the universe. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with evidence of design, then we'll move into some deep questions of existence, nail down exactly how to define this greatest creator, and finally, finish up with a lifetime of verification. So, Section 1, the evidence of design, looking at analogies of order. The text starts by taking an ancient idea, like the concept of heaven in Confucianism, and bringing it right into the modern industrial age. Think about it. A high-precision CNC machine cutting metal completely automatically with absolute accuracy. Is that incredible precision just some innate magical attribute of the metal and the wires? No way. There is fundamentally an engineer controlling it from behind the scenes, right? Well, this framework asserts that the entire universe operates in that exact same way. Let's leave the factory floor and look at nature, specifically right inside a beehive. A honeycomb is made of regular hexagonal prisms, and at the base of these prisms are 3 equal rhombuses. Get this, the obtuse angle of that rhombus is exactly 109 degrees and 28 minutes, while the acute angle is exactly 70 degrees and 32 minutes. According to scientists, only this precise angle maximizes material savings for the hive. It's like a giant puzzle. So the text poses a really provocative question. Are bees simply architectural geniuses with an innate grasp of advanced geometry? Or is there an invisible force behind them, controlling their instincts, just like a machinist controlling that CNC machine? Faced with dozens of facts exactly like this, the author argues that denying a creator becomes, well, completely illogical. Moving right along to Section 2, Questions of Existence, focusing on the unknown origins. The source hits us with a barrage of rapid-fire fundamental questions, demanding we look way beyond the surface of everyday life. Basically, everything moves, so what was the absolute initial driving force? Everything has a spirit, but where does that originate? We all understand cause and effect, sure, but what was the very first cause that kicked off the whole chain? Everything in the world is interrelated like a massive network, but what's the ultimate endpoint of all those connections? The author throws down a direct challenge here. Using the placeholder name Dang Hai Ikshao, he asks if any human being can step up and claim to be the highest form of life. Can any of us say, I established the order in the universe? The obvious answer is no. This is meant to highlight the sheer absurdity of human arrogance. We didn't program the universe, so how can we possibly claim the programmer doesn't exist? And you know the standard secular counter-argument, right? Well, it's just natural. The author firmly rejects that. Claiming things just formed naturally is viewed basically as a cop-out. It completely fails to rigorously explain how nature managed to automatically program all of these operational masterpieces. Stubbornly saying nature is nature just isn't considered a complete scientific or philosophical explanation for the insane intricacy of the cosmos. Okay, Section 3, Defining the Greatest Creator through the 8 features. To explain the exact nature of this creator, the philosophy uses a totally relatable metaphor. The sun. In this view, the greatest creator is not a personal genie meant to solve your everyday problems. Instead, it radiates light and energy completely impartially over everything and everyone. Whether you step out to receive that energy or hide away in the dark, well, that's entirely your own responsibility. The sun simply doesn't play favorites. This brings us to the core definition, which rests on 8 specific mandatory features. The true greatest creator must be unique, amorphous, neutral, mysterious, impartial, merciful, supremely powerful, and intelligent. According to the text, a divine force absolutely must possess all of these traits at once. We really need to zero in on the terms amorphous, meaning without a defined physical shape, and neutral, meaning completely void of any gender or human bias. Which brings us to our final section, Section 4, a lifetime of verification and contrasting beliefs. The philosophy definitely doesn't pull any punches here. For instance, it explicitly argues that the God described in the biblical Old Testament cannot be the real greatest creator. Why? Because that depiction just doesn't align with the 8 features we just talked about. The characteristics displayed in those biblical accounts are seen as violating these strict rules of being entirely neutral and impartial. The author's analytical lens then turns to the Krishna consciousness movement, highlighting a very specific theological claim from that tradition, the belief that Krishna has 16,008 wives, which, let's be honest, is a lot of anniversaries to remember. But within this philosophical framework, having wives is a fatal flaw. A deity with wives fundamentally represents a personified, gendered being, because the true greatest creator must be strictly neutral, neither male nor female. Any tradition that attempts to personify the creator with human gender, human emotions, or a human-like body is deemed fundamentally incorrect by the author. Now, you might be thinking, making bold claims about major world religions is gonna get some serious pushback. And you'd be right. But this resistance is framed by the text as evidence of its own validity. The argument is that when an undeniable truth is finally revealed, those heavily invested in false frameworks can literally no longer hide. Because they can't defeat the logic, they're forced to resort to slander to protect their existing paradigms. But despite all that friction, the conclusion is actually remarkably patient. Acknowledging that people aren't just going to completely dismantle their lifelong beliefs overnight, it beautifully quotes an ancient proverb. Having heard dull in the morning, one may die content in the evening. Grasping this profound truth about the universe's design, even if it happens at the very end of one's life, is considered more than enough to bring deep, ultimate contentment. Ultimately, this leaves us with a really compelling call to action. It's not a demand for immediate, blind belief. It's a challenge. Look at the precision of the CNC machines, look at the brilliant geometry of the honeycomb, and look at the sun shining impartially. The massive question left for you is, will you use your own lifetime of observation and lived experience to verify these claims for yourself? Are you willing to keep your eyes wide open to the incredible order of the universe?